Hi, I'm Kat, and today I have for you, of course, a true crime case. I will also be doing my makeup at the same time, and I also have a word in Romanian. So today is part 2 of the Grant Solomon case, and we just left off in the first part just as Angie, Grant's mom, finally managed to find Grant's truck. So before we get into it, the word in Romanian for today is agresiune. 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 Well done, guys, you just said assault. And just a quick disclaimer, everything that I'm saying in the video is alleged and all the information I have is from online sources, including the Freedom for Gracie website. In May, Gracie, Grant's sister, constantly fearing and thinking that she will have to be with her father, she sees only one option. In March, she had recorded a video and she decides to go ahead and publish it. Anna Smith, one of Grant's best friends, also makes a video corroborating Gracie's claims. Whilst most teenagers would post all these, random videos on YouTube and TikTok, Gracie Solomon's video is just shocking. In the video, she sits in a family friend's living room holding a script saying, quote, "I just want to say before we get into any of this that it's coming straight from me. All me, and no one else has told me what to do." At 14 years old, she looked just like the typical teenager. But she carries on. "My brother died protecting me from my father, Aaron Solomon. My father is a monster. It makes me want to vomit. I've been minimalized, but now I found my voice. To be able to tell you that my father raped me, hurt me, and I'm not going to be a victim of this monster. He's a rapist, he's a molester, he's a liar, and he's a killer." End of quote. Over the course of the 18-minute video, Gracie Solomon lays out in graphic detail what she says are instances of abuse at the hands of her father. She also talks about the problems that her brother Grant had with their father before his death. With the help of social media, her video generated at the time on YouTube over 12,000 views, thousands of likes on posts from the Instagram account Freedom for Gracie, which has clips from the video and other documents allegedly supporting Gracie. Gracie's video became so public that her father, Aaron, went to court trying to stop the people behind the accounts. Now, if you want to see the video, the full video on YouTube, I'm going to leave the link for the video in the description under this video. In a filing in Williamson County Circuit Court, Aaron Solomon sued his ex-wife, Angie, 4 others and an unknown set of defendants he hoped to find during discovery in the case, John Doe's number 1 through 25, for defamation, false light, and invasion of privacy, among other claims. But he didn't file the suit against Gracie. And do you want to know what else happened? This is what happens when you dare to speak up in this case. We've seen it from the beginning, right? After Gracie's video was posted, the court bench ordered Gracie into DCS custody, Child Protective Services. The reasoning? Fear of psychological harm. All Gracie wanted was to live with her mother, to be safe from her abusive father and get justice for her brother Grant. But instead, she's being silenced. Social services took her away from her mother, even though it was her father who was harming her. And also now, Gracie, she's 17, right? Let's not forget that Angie can't file any motions in court against Aaron because remember that she was barred by that lady judge, Diana Johnson, I believe she's called. She was barred until Gracie turns 18. So Gracie was taken away, Angie is barred from filing in court, Aaron sues Angie, and all because Angie wanted to protect her children and all because Gracie wants to be safe from her father. But everyone around them is silencing them. I really hope that when Gracie turns 18, she will be able to do something against her dad, although I really do hope that she will be safe. Even though I didn't touch a lot on Angie and Aaron Solomon's divorce earlier, the divorce was quite messy. initiated in 2013 and finalized in 2014, the Davidson County case file includes 278 entries from a 7-year period as they litigated a lot of issues, including Aaron's custody of Grant and Gracie. There were a number of other post-divorce actions between the couple in Williamson County as well. Aaron Solomon's lawsuits says that he believes that his ex-wife turned their children against him. The lawsuit alleges, quote, having been foreclosed from bringing new claims against Mr. Solomon, Mrs. Solomon and her friends have taken her case to social media, publicly accusing him of egregious crimes such as sexual abuse of his daughter, the attempted murder of Mrs. Solomon, and has implied that he murdered his beloved son Grant, who died tragically in a car accident last year. End of quote. Aaron Solomon's attorneys say in court records that the abuse claims against him had been adjudicated, citing a Department of Children's Services case opened during the divorce. Attorneys for Gracie Solomon say that a thorough investigation was never performed. While Aaron regained custodial rights for Gracie, she had lived with her mom for some time, although a Williamson County Juvenile Court stepped in and placed her with family friends. A temporary restraining order filed in 2020 prevented Aaron Solomon from seeing Gracie. Advocates for her hoped that this would mean an investigation will start. Because Aaron Solomon's lawsuit hinged on Gracie's speech, all of the defendants except Angie Solomon responded with an anti-SLAPP petition. Anti-SLAPP measures, the SLAPP part stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation, are meant to counteract lawsuits designed to silence constitutionally protected speech. In his lawsuit, Aaron Solomon requested permanent injunctions against the defendants from making any statements about the case in public, essentially asking the court to institute prior restraint against their social media. For their part, the defendants filed affidavits with the court that none operate, maintain, or contribute to the Freedom for Gracie account in this dispute. Gracie also filed an affidavit reiterating her molestation claims, including a detailed account of an alleged rape in a hotel in Asheville. The petition actually placed an interesting burden on Aaron Solomon. If the defamation case was to proceed, he would be granted discovery to find evidence to support his claims, but the petition was likely to force him to show proof immediately or face his suit being dismissed. As evidence, Aaron submitted a signed statement by Sumner County Assistant District Attorney Ronald Blanton stating that there was not enough evidence to reopen the investigation. According to the petition, instead of attacking his daughter's statements directly, Aaron targeted those who support her, including 2 recent high school graduates, Win Hicks and Anna Smith, and one of each of their parents. Is designed to let the defendants and anyone else who doesn't want to become one of Aaron's defendants know that he will drag them into court and subject them to potentially ruinous legal costs for speaking out against him. Gracie Solomon told the court, quote, "Since my video was posted online, I have felt good about it. It hasn't made me stressed and I haven't experienced any bad things as a result. When I spoke to my therapist about it, I told her how empowered I felt by the video and she said she was proud of me." Meanwhile, the Instagram account continues posting documents and videos alleging that Grant Solomon's death was suspicious and never investigated by authorities. But it gets so much more complicated and frankly it's quite unbelievable. Grant's death, we covered a bit about what happened, but there is much more to it. On July 20th, 2020, Grant got up early and he asked his mother if she will be home, to which she said yes. Grant's answer was actually petrifying. "I don't want to die in Gallatin today," he said. He had not seen his father in a while and he feared for his safety. Grant then jumped in his white pickup truck and drove around 1 hour to World Performance Institute on 1357 S. Water Street in Gallatin, Tennessee. to work on his baseball skills. What happened next is not very clear. Some accounts say that Aaron, Grant's father, met him en route to the institute. Others say that he pulled in behind Grant when Grant arrived at the institute. Anyway, Grant and his father arrived at approximately 8:41 a.m. They allegedly parked near the building on a hill above the street. At 8:44 a.m., Aaron called 911 to say he had received a work email and looked down at his phone for a few seconds. Then he heard the crash and looked up to see that Grant's pickup truck rolled down the hill and Grant was underneath it. While Grant was under his pickup truck, emergency responders said that it was impossible to see Grant except by getting alongside the truck and looking under it. But Aaron claimed that he could see his son's body from high up on the hill, something which is impossible. The emergency responders arrived soon after Aaron's 911 call and they raised the truck, which was not physically resting on Grant, and they removed him. Grant was still fighting for his life, but he was unresponsive. He went into cardiac arrest shortly before being placed in an ambulance. The paramedics began CPR and fought to save him, injecting Grant with 3 doses of epinephrine and using a defibrillator. But their efforts were in vain, and shortly after arriving at the hospital, Grant was pronounced dead on arrival. His body was still warm and doctors documented several minor bruises and a gaping wound on the back of his head. However, there were no significant abrasions or lacerations. Grant's medical records reveal no injuries consistent with being dragged by his truck. Various pathologists and medical experts state that being dragged by a vehicle results in severe abrasions, often down to the bone, and typically arms or legs are torn off. Additionally, burns from the catalytic converter and the exhaust system are standard, and pathologists typically find multiple simultaneous causes of death. Because of this lack of evidence that Grant was dragged or hit by his pickup truck, a lot of experts concluded that someone else was involved in Grant's death. Grant had a single fatal wound to the back of the head. We may never know how he got it, but we do know that Grant's baseball bat was in his truck when he left home that morning and then it went missing. And this baseball hat remains missing to this day. An investigation by an independent investigator found traces of blood inside the cab of Grant's truck, but there wasn't much blood at the scene. Head wounds actually bleed a lot, but only small amounts of blood were found near Grant's body. No blood or human tissue was found in the parking lot. Gallatin Police Department said that the pickup rear bumper, which was bent up, makes it clear that Grant's pickup rolled into the ditch, but given the lack of other damage to the vehicle, the bending of the bumper probably happened when the first responders lifted the front of the truck trying to save Grant. It's likely that Grant was struck in the head at another location. He was dumped while he was still alive in the ditch where he was found, and his pickup truck was driven over him to make it look as if he was run over by his own truck. There are a lot of details of Aaron's account which just don't make sense. Aaron claimed that Grant was face up under the truck even before Grant was pulled from underneath, but he couldn't have seen him from where he said he was on the hill. Then he later said that his son was lying sideways underneath the truck. Aaron refused an autopsy. He reacted strangely when Grant's girlfriend reported that the Life 360 locator app she shared with Grant showed that Grant's phone was wandering around the accident scene and later traveled around the area. Grant, who always called his girlfriend when he arrived somewhere, didn't call her that morning. There are no marks in the grass where his truck allegedly dragged Grant, and tire marks suggest that the truck came in from the road rather than rolling down the hill. The underside of the truck was also undamaged. Another significant factor in Grant's truck itself and the transmission, which allegedly failed and caused the accident. whilst it's not required by US law for the owner of a vehicle to make a report about a car defect. That's what a grieving parent would do, just to make sure that other parents wouldn't suffer a loss like this. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration makes reporting these failures very easy, but Aaron never reported the failed transmission to them. He also drove the truck after. Coincidentally, no one else in the United States seems to have reported anything like this kind of failure either. Aaron was, however, making efforts to stop the car from being inspected. He made sure to get the mildly damaged vehicle out of the towing yard before he could undergo a forensic examination by police, a forensic investigation by the police, and then convinced a local Farm Bureau claims adjuster to declare it a total loss. He then sold the vehicle to a scrapyard. It seems that he was trying to get rid of the insurance's post-accident inspection and to make any trace of the car that killed his son disappear. But the Instagram account Freedom for Gracie finally revealed that Grant's mother, Angie, was actually in possession of this vehicle after she searched for it at dozens of scrapyards to preserve the evidence which might help convict her son's alleged murderer. So with the help of a friend of hers, they actually went through a lot of cars being sold and they came across Grant's car being sold. So that's how they found the car. Soon after, the user also posted excerpts from a forensic examination of the vehicle which further incriminated Aaron. The crash investigator wrote that he was able to retrieve data from the event recorder, a device which works similar to a black box in planes, recording impacts as well as operative functions like seatbelt status, acceleration, and use of the brake. It does not record absolute time. It's limited to recording time relative to the crash. So the data revealed 2 recorded impact events. During both of these events, the driver's side seatbelt was fastened and both acceleration and brake were used in maneuvering the car. This means that either someone was sitting at the steering wheel and drove the car into Grant on purpose, killing him, or there was no crash event involved in Grant's death. Since almost all of the sources say that Aaron was the only witness to the accident, this would make him the only suspect in the death of his son Grant. Only one source claims that there were other witnesses to the incident: Aaron Solomon. Even though he doesn't mention them during his police statement, in the 911 call obtained by Freedom for Gracie, he says that he got 3 guys here. During the call, he also frequently seems to be shouting something to the alleged witnesses. Absolutely no other report mentions these 3 witnesses. Officer Wilson of the Gallatin PD stated in his investigation that no other witnesses could be located at this time. Listening closely to the 911 call, 45 seconds elapse between when Aaron last calls out to the witnesses and when the sound of sirens announces the arrival of police and EMS. I don't think that 45 seconds are enough for the 3 witnesses to run away from the scene after they helped the victim. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's still unknown who these so-called witnesses are or if they ever even existed. Aaron's claim that his son's cell phone was found by someone who charged it and became a Christian thanks to his experiences is another thing which is just ridiculous. The cell phone was not charged by anyone during the time between Grant's death and his father retrieving the phone. And while the phone was intact at the time of Grant's death, he later came back with severe damage to the screen consistent with having been hit by a hammer or something else. Aaron was the one who brought the phone back, if you remember. He said he's gonna sort it out. According to the emergency responders, Grant's truck was found in park mode. This is inconsistent with the reports that the truck rolled through the parking lot. But Aaron said that he didn't touch the truck. Aaron also gave conflicting accounts of what happened that day to various people over the next days. There were no drag marks or scuffs on Grant's clothing, which was given to his mother after his death. Family members and friends claim that Grant went to his pastor shortly before his death to ask for help over his sister's ongoing sexual abuse. But the pastor denies this, claiming that Grant wanted information on how to be closer to Jesus, like that has anything to do with his sister's sexual abuse. It's kind of hard to believe, right? The pastor is known to be friends with Grant's father, Aaron. He may have even tipped Aaron off about his son's efforts to protect his younger sister. Grant had always said that he would go to court to protect his sister when he turned 18 and hopefully to gain custody of her. His birthday was just weeks before his death. Following Grant's death, Aaron sued numerous individuals who raised questions about his son's death for defamation. The case, filed in federal district court, was dismissed with prejudice, which basically means that he won't be able to file again. The conduct of Grace Chapel, Grant's former school and church, was just disgusting and completely inappropriate. They sent cease and desist letters to various people to try and shut down any kind of criticism. Later, the church claimed it didn't demand anything but rather just asked, but that's not what the letters say, is it? There was also the recording of Grant in which he told school officials that it was almost too late to help. Advocates eventually raised these issues with the Tennessee state governor and the newly elected attorney general, but unfortunately they both refused to get involved, and they claimed that Grant's death was an accident, even though the medical records leave no doubt that Grant was not dragged by his pickup truck. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. At the end of August 2022, the Freedom for Gracie Instagram account posted that they finally received proof that Aaron Solomon is now a substantiated abuser in the eyes of the courts. According to a Tennessee's children's case recording summary dated 31st of January 2022, Gracie Solomon's case is classified as abuse substantiated, perpetrator substantiated. The alleged perpetrator is listed as her father, Aaron Solomon, for abuses perpetrated between 2013 and 2018. The same years that Aaron was in possession of his children, and the court repeatedly claimed that there was no merit to the allegations. The case status also indicates it's closed, so apparently Aaron is still not paying for his crimes. Freedom for Gracie also speaks about Grace Christian Academy headmaster Robbie Mason calling Gracie's allegations old news. They even told her to get into the car with her abuser. Grace Chapel's head of security's answer to Angie's cry for help was to get her in touch with Judge Deanna Johnson, who in turn barred Angie Solomon from taking her family's abuser to court again until Gracie turns 18. Angie, Grant and Gracie maintained that Aaron was sexually abusive for years. They were told to stop talking and that they made other people uncomfortable. Anglican Watch website has been examining allegations that the Grace Christian Academy in Franklin, Tennessee repeatedly failed to act as mandated reporters of child abuse under state law. Anglican Watch identified at least 12 cases in which the school failed to report allegations of child abuse from Grant and Gracie Solomon and their friends. There is enough circumstantial evidence to suggest that the 12 cases may be just a small portion of the total complaints made to school officials. Anglican Watch's investigation identified students and school staff with potential knowledge of the matter. It proved, quite challenging to actually ask questions because they got a lot of, I don't know what you're talking about, or about being in league with Satan and so on. No one should ever have to be scared to come forward with concerns, especially regarding child abuse, but it seems that this school is promoting fear. But a teacher actually did come forward, initially anonymously. She shared a lot of information. Shortly afterwards, several students also came forward. Some contacted Anglican Watch via their email form, others via burner phones, or phones in public places. In every case, students begged them not to use their names or do anything to identify them. But they did uncover a school where children are often afraid and they feel powerless. Several also said that they feared Aaron Solomon or people close to him might kill them. A lot of people referred to Aaron as a creepster, a stalker, scary or similar. One student even said, if I were in a room with him, I'd gnaw my own arm off to get away. But even with 12 confirmed reports that Gracie, Grant and their friends complained to the school about child abuse, there is no evidence that the school took any action. Multiple students said that the school told them to be quiet about these issues, that the allegations were old news or that they were just gossip. Several said that their parents told them not to get involved. Everyone interviewed said similar stories of a school that can be extremely harsh towards students. Another common theme throughout all of the stories was around perceptions that criticism of so-called leaders would be a betrayal. There were numerous times that the school ignored Gracie's abuse, including Gracie's obvious terror when Aaron came to the school to pick them up. A mother, a sister, a community are without any answers. A dead boy is without justice. Angie talks about her son in the present tense frequently. Grant is with us, she says. He gives me strength, he keeps me going. For years, Gracie, her mother Angie, and her brother Grant tried to get help as a family in crisis, but their church, school, judicial system, and local law enforcement chose to protect their abuser, Aaron Solomon, and further the abuse through gaslighting and reprimanding the victims instead. There is a petition calling for an investigation into Grant's death, and there is also another petition for Gracie. I will leave the links under this video if you are interested in signing them. And honestly, I could not believe this story when I started researching it, and it got so overwhelming that I had to stop for quite a few times. Only from reading, my brain was just exploding. I can't even begin to imagine what Angie, Grant and Gracie went through, because if only reading about this gets you all sorts of, ooh, enough already, just please stop, then being a part of it, that's something else entirely. And they have an unreal level of strength, and they didn't give up, and they don't give up to this day. It seems that in this case we not only have a Channel 4 ex-news anchor with 14 years on the job. I'm trying to emphasize here that with 14 years comes a lot of connections and knowledge about different things, but on the other hand we also have a church or a group, I don't even know how you call it, which in my opinion they do everything that they can to keep everybody's mouth shut, to make themselves look very pure and innocent, if you will. I don't know if it was Aaron's connections that helped him this much, or was it more to do with him being part of the church and the church kind of, wanting to keep it hush-hush to save their own reputation, or perhaps because the school is a private school, which I'm guessing it costs a lot to study there, and they would lose students, therefore they would lose money, or, maybe it was both. I don't know. This is my view, this is my opinion. I hope I'm not gonna get a cease and desist here or a lawsuit because I'm just stating my opinion, like I think I'm free to do so. It's just unbelievable how Angie, Grant and Gracie told absolutely everyone over and over again, and they told the right people and nobody did anything. Who has this much power? And even to this day, Grant Solomon's death is still not being investigated. Aaron is still not punished for the abuse and he is not looked at as a suspect. Thank you guys so much for staying with me with these two parts, and please do let me know what do you guys think in the comment section down below. I will again, I'm reminding you, I will leave the links for the petitions in the description under this video, and also the link for Gracie's 18-minute YouTube video. For now, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!